And good evening and welcome to the April 10th, 2025 meeting of Standing Community Powers Advisory Committee, CAC. My name is Matthew Vasilakis and I represent the City of San Diego. As CAC Chair, I welcome members of the public, Standing Community Powers staff, and committee members joining us in person and online today. Thank you to Community Powers staff for making this in-person meeting possible and to the Port of San Diego for accommodating us today. I'll now call the meeting to order. Our meeting assistant clerk of the board, Sandra Veses, will now call the roll.
Committee member Sclafani.
Present.
Committee member Johns.
Present.
Committee member Hammond.
Present.
Committee member Sandoval. Committee member Hoyt. Committee member Anderson.
Present.
Committee member Pike. Committee member Harris.
Here.
Committee member Sumner.
Present.
Committee member Montero Adams.
Present.
Secretary Castañeda. Vice Chair Emerson.
Here.
Chair Vasilakis.
Present.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Wonderful. All right, well, I'll now lead us in the, your seat's over here. Thank you. Great. Well, stay standing because we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is the nation of God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Right. We'll also take a moment to respectfully acknowledge that the Kumeyaay Nation are the original inhabitants of the land now known as San Diego, where this meeting is taking place today. We carry their legacy forward, ensuring that their traditions continue to thrive in gratitude and strength, and we stand with the Kumeyaay Nation connected to our past and committed to a more just, sustainable, and resilient future for all. All right, with a quorum present, first on the agenda is special presentations and introductions, and today we'd love to give a warm welcome to Sean Sumner, our newest CAC member representing the City of La Mesa. Sean was appointed by Community Powers Board of Directors during the regular March meeting and has ample experience in the public sector. Sean, would you like to address the group?
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, just briefly, I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to participate. I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to contributing in any way I can. It's a little strange being back in this building. I worked here for 24 years and it's my last year, so I'm right back, just in a different capacity and loving every minute of it. So I'm very excited to be here, looking forward to contributing any expertise I can and learning along the way.
Thank you. Wonderful. Appreciate your representation and welcome again. We also have some new staff members joining Community Power here with us. Cody Harrison, Senior Program Associate, and Jeb Spingler, Strategic Finance Manager, who's joining remotely. Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
Sure.
Thank you, Cody.
There you go. Thank you. My name is Cody Harrison. I'm joining San Diego Community Power as of last Tuesday, brand new. I will be working primarily on the solar battery savings program and am looking forward to helping to launch round 2 of the program and expand it hopefully very significantly to many more homes and potentially businesses throughout San Diego. I'm excited to be part of the organization, really looking forward to contributing to its growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Jeff?
Hi, and good evening. Thank you, Chair Vasilakis, Vice Chair Emerson, and members of the committee. It's nice to meet you all. Cody is no longer the newest employee. I started last Wednesday. Cody's got one day on me. I've joined San Diego Community Power as the Strategic Finance Manager. I will be mostly responsible for arranging the organization's clean energy prepaid payment bond financings, as well as obtaining an investment grade credit rating, as well as some other strategic finance objectives that the organization has laid out for me. I come from a background in municipal advisory, credit analyst, and investment banking over the last 25 years, most recently with a municipal advisory shop that covered most of California's largest municipalities. I'm thrilled to have joined this organization and I look forward to meeting you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeb. Appreciate your time and your talents. Well, that concludes special presentations for today. Sandra, are there any items to be withdrawn or reordered?
There are none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, well, seeing none, we'll now take up any non-agenda public comment. All right, well,
There are none.
oh, perfect, thank you. And just as a reminder, written public comments submitted before the committee meeting are emailed to all CAC members prior to the committee meeting. and will be posted on the website at the beginning of the meeting. Standard, oh, you already said we don't have any, so we're good. All right, we'll move to consent calendar, consent agenda. The consent calendar contains items that can be approved as a package without discussion unless a CAC member or a member of the public requests that an item be removed for separate discussion and action. The CAC received staff reports for all items on the consent agenda, and staff provided an opportunity for questions and comments during briefings prior to this meeting. Today's consent agenda includes 1, approval of the March 13th, 2025 CAC minutes, 2, update on marketing, public relations, and local government affairs, 3, update on customer operations, and 4, update on programs. Sandra, do we have any public comment on any of the items?
There are none.
Right, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to remove any item from the consent agenda for a separate vote? Okay, all right, well, seeing no objections or requests for removal, I will now turn over to the committee members for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
For Anderson, is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. We'll just say seconded by Johns. And then, Sandra, if you can please call the vote.
Committee member Sclafani. Committee member Johns.
Aye.
Committee member Hammond.
Aye.
Committee member Hoyt.
Aye.
Committee member Anderson.
Aye.
Committee member Harris.
Aye.
Committee member Sumner.
Aye.
Committee member Montero Adams.
Aye.
Vice Chair Emerson.
Aye.
Chair Vasilakis. Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to regular agenda item or regular agenda, starting with item 5, quarterly update on regulatory and legislative affairs. Favorite. Community Power's regulatory and legislative affairs team is joining us today, some of them remotely, to provide this presentation. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you who I have not yet meeting, my name is Laura, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Director of Regulatory and Legislative Affairs for San Diego Community Power. I'm here along with my entire team tonight. As our chair mentioned, some of them are joining us remotely. And we're giving our quarterly update on regulatory and legislative affairs. There is lots going on. Next slide, please. So since we have some new members on the Community Advisory Committee, we thought it might be helpful to sort of briefly review the policy life cycle for those of you who maybe don't live and breathe this every day like we do. So new laws and regulations, they start out as ideas or concepts. I'm sure you remember, and just a bill. These ideas or concepts, they're often drafted into legislation. We refer to them as bills. You'll hear us say Assembly Bill or Senate Bill. SB or AD for short. That's how a bill is labeled. It has to do with their house of origin, meaning that's the bill that it was introduced in, but we have a bicameral legislature, so all bills have to go through both houses. In general, the legislative process is how the government considers and votes on bills. Some of them eventually turn into new laws. And then laws are often drafted at a very high level, and they leave the details of implementation to be figured out by regulatory agencies. So when a new law is passed, regulatory agencies often oversee the design and implementation of the law. And in general, regulatory agencies have two functions, one being legislative, the other being judicial. The Public Utilities Commission, the California Public Utilities, or CPUC for short, for example, has quasi-legislative proceedings. And this is where the CPUC establishes policies or rules that affect an entire class of regulated entities, such as the investor utilities, or investigates the rates and practices of an entire regulated industry or class of entities. These are different than proceedings that we refer to as adjudicatory proceedings, which deal with certain disputes or violations of law, or rate setting proceedings, such as the general rate cases that investigate or deal with specific utility rates. Next slide, please. We also thought it might be helpful to set the stage a little bit and go over the various agencies and what their roles are within the energy policy landscape. So at the federal level, a lot of news recently about the U.S. Department of Energy. They are responsible for developing and implementing the nation's energy policy, promoting energy security, and ensuring safety and security of nuclear resources. Also at the federal level, we have the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, also known as FERC. They're an independent agency that regulates the interstate transmission of wholesale sale of electricity, natural gas, and oil. They do not regulate retail electricity or natural gas prices. They do review proposals for infrastructure projects like pipelines, LNG terminals, and licensing type of projects. Finally, Congress passes laws relating to relevant federal policies such as tax credits. You maybe hear in our meetings about investment tax credit, production tax credit. They also deal with laws dealing with federal land permitting, interstate commerce, and other national standards. Moving to sort of the orange bubble at the state level, I'll start with ISO, so the California Independent System Operator. They're actually a nonprofit and they manage the flow of electricity across California's high voltage power lines. They ensure the reliability and security of the power transmission system. So in essence, they manage the grid, they balance supply and demand, and they operate a wholesale electricity market among other functions. This California Public Utilities Commission, they're actually an agency that my team deals with the most. And while they have a lot of responsibilities under their purview, they actually as the Railroad Commission, they're intended to regulate natural monopolies. Today, they regulate, for our purposes, most importantly, investor-owned utilities such as SDG&E, in addition to regulating other industries such as transportation, like Uber. They have a whole lot under their purview, but for our purposes, mostly we care about the regulation of investor-owned utilities, and we also have compliance obligations that get filed with the Public Utilities Commission. Moving to the California Energy Commission, the CEC, they're the state's primary energy policy and planning agency, and they're tasked with advancing state energy policy, achieving energy efficiency, investing in energy innovation, developing renewable energy, and preparing for energy emergencies. Lastly, at the state level, the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, they're the state agency that's responsible for protecting public health by reducing air pollution and addressing climate change, setting air quality standards, and ensuring compliance with regulations. Finally, at the local level, air districts are responsible for regional air quality planning, monitoring and stationary source and facility permitting. They also administer air quality improvement and grant programs. And then there are city and county governments who are responsible for permitting, land use, breach codes, climate action plans, and local ordinances. Finally, us, community choice aggregators like Community Power, we're responsible for power and administering local programs. Next slide, please. So next, I wanted to provide an overview of our board-approved regulatory and legislative platform. Some of you have definitely seen this and are familiar with it. It's a really lengthy document, so I would encourage all of you to read it. It's publicly posted on our website. And what it basically is what guides our regulatory and legislative work every single day. It's intended to provide guidance to myself, my team, other people who might be advocating on behalf of our organization on policy matters of interest to community power. The regulatory and legislative spaces can move very, very quickly. And so we have this board-approved policy platform so that we do not need to seek board approval for everything that we do, either at the legislature or at the Public Utilities Commission. It enables us to do things like file letters of support or opposition for legislation, as well as file comments at regulatory agencies. We're always open to feedback on the policy platform, but our intention is to revise it on a 2-year cycle going forward. We'll plan to make these revisions between the legislative cycle. We have a 2-year legislative cycle. We're right now in the first year of a 2-year legislative cycle. We last revised the policy platform last March. We will intend to bring it to the board for full more revisions after the current 2-year legislative cycle ends next fall. But just to give you a high-level overview, the 3 general policy principles you can see up there are accelerating decarbonization, promoting local development, stabilizing community choice. And the document goes into a lot of detail on various policy topics. So again, I would encourage you to read it. I don't want to stand here and read you 5 pages. So that wouldn't be a great use of our time. But like I said, we're always open to feedback if you have thoughts on it. We're constantly thinking about how to improve it for our next cycle of revision. And with that, I'll hand it off to our Senior Legislative Manager, Patrick Welch, who will be joining us online.
Thanks, Laura. And hello, Chair and Community Advisory Committee members. Pleased to be here. Patrick Welch, Senior Legislative Manager. Appreciate being able to present remotely and look forward to the next opportunity to be with you in person. I'm going to cover 2 things this evening. First, a state legislative update, followed by a brief federal legislative update. Using that policy platform that Laura just mentioned, we have been reviewing over 150 Assembly bills and Senate bills that have been introduced this legislative year. Those range in issues dealing with procurement, energy efficiency, resource adequacy, load shifting, to general government issues like dealing with the Brown Act and Public Records Act request. And we have so far taken support positions on several bills that you see on the screen. The first one, SB 239, is actually really specific to the CAC. This would modernize teleconferencing protocols for subsidiary bodies, just like the CAC, that advise decision-making bodies. and it would allow you additional flexibility to have remote meetings without having to comply with some cumbersome agenda, notification, and posting protocols. This bill has been tried in prior years and did not pass, and we're hopeful this year that with our support, among others, that it can make it through the legislative process. Also supporting legislation by Senator Padilla, SB 302, that would conform a state tax law to federal tax law for what are called transferable tax credits. This is allowed under federal law, and this tax conformity could help reduce the cost of energy projects between 1% to 6%. So this is an affordability measure. We're also supporting SB 330 by Senator Padilla, which sets up a pilot program to publicly finance transmission power lines. It's estimated that between now and around 2040, 2045, the state will have to spend, ratepayers will have to spend about $63 billion on new transmission lines. And so this is an affordability bill trying to set up a mechanism where we can use lower cost financing to pay for some of those expenses as opposed to more expensive private capital structures. We're also supporting SB 540, which would allow California Independent System Operator to participate in a regional electricity market for affordability, reliability, and greenhouse gas emission saving purposes. Right now, California operates a market that is really within the confines of our state. This bill allows that market to grow beyond the state of California and capture other Western states and realize additional savings for ratepayers and greater reliability benefits. And then finally, we're also supporting SB 710 by Senator Blakespear, which continues or extends an existing tax exclusion for rooftop solar and battery storage. Right now, if you install solar on your home or a business does that, your property doesn't get reassessed for new property taxes. That law actually ends at the end of, I think, next year. And so this bill is trying to extend that. So it doesn't increase the cost of installing solar and storage on homes and businesses. You also see, for me, it's on the right hand of the screen, a letter there with our signature and the signatures of other entities. We have been engaging in a very robust discussion with the state legislature on energy efficiency and affordability issues. Right now, affordability is top of mind of the state legislators. And there was a recent hearing by the Senate Energy and Utilities Committee where a number of stakeholders, including the Public Utilities Commission, the Public Utilities Commission Public Advocate's Office, and PG&E made suggestions that ratepayers should not be funding certain customer programs. Right now, some customer programs are funded through a charge on customer bills called the public purpose charge. It's about $3 for an average bill in the San Diego area. And that money goes to fund programs like the San Diego Regional Energy Network. There was some misinformation provided in that hearing, so we joined together with other organizations, with 38 other organizations around the state to set the record straight and to show that energy efficiency programs are really actually a small and declining component of customer bills, that energy efficiency savings are critical to California's world-leading clean energy transition, and that statewide, the entire energy efficiency portfolio is cost-effective, is important for grid reliability, and many energy efficiency programs are designed to help customers in disadvantaged communities. So that continues to be a really important conversation in Sacramento, one that I think is a priority for Community Power as an agency to engage in. We are also advocating for additional funds for a program called the Distributed Electricity Backup Assets Program, which could, if the legislature chooses to appropriate the money, which they're targeting about $180 million this year, could be another avenue for Community Power to look at for funding certain programs like the Solar Battery Savings Program. So we're continuing to advocate for that program to be able to fund distributed energy resources without having to look into our own budget as Community Power. Next slide, please. And then finally, on the federal front, we have been engaging with the San Diego congressional delegation and partnering with other CCAs around the state to advance Some priorities at the federal level. As you all have probably heard through the news, Congress is currently going through their budget reconciliation process, which is a mechanism that they're using to extend tax cuts that were enacted in 2017. In order to extend those tax cuts, Congress has to identify what they call pay-fors or budget reductions. And as part of that, there is some potential jeopardy that key tax provisions that community power and our customers benefit from currently could be considered as a pay-for to extend the 2017 Tax Act. So working with other CCAs around the state, we have advanced a letter and our priorities to advocate for key tax incentives, not only on the wholesale side. Those are called the investment and production tax credits that reduce the cost of our power purchase agreements, but also on the consumer side, there are really important tax credits that lower the cost of residential battery and storage systems and that also lower the cost of electrification efforts like installing heat pumps. So those are some of our priorities right now at the federal level. It remains a really, I think, fluid process in Washington, D.C., and we remain committed at Community Power trying to advance our priorities to protect ratepayer affordability and our customers in the region and our operations as well. So with that, that wraps up the end of my presentation. I don't know if we wanted to pause here, if there's any questions or comments, or if we wanted to pass it to Aisha to get rolling on the regulatory side of things.
Member Anderson?
Could you go back one screen, please? Yeah. I have questions about two of these bills. Under 330, is there a provision in there for undergrounding? As we know, overhead lines in California have been responsible for billions of dollars of property loss during high winds and aging lines. Is part of that to establish underground transmission, or does it not speak to that one way or another?
Yeah, good question. It doesn't speak to it. The bill is really designed to set up a mechanism to reduce the costs of the needed transmission investments that are needed. So it doesn't speak to whether or not how those lines should be designed. It only speaks to the financing mechanism of it. The design mechanism would go through something that's called the California Independent System Operator Transmission Planning Process. That's where the design actually happens and that engineering happens. This bill is just about the back end financing of those lines.
All right, and then I have a question about 540. I think it's great to have an interstate regional electricity market, but do we know if we're importing power from other states, whether it's renewable or non-renewable in terms of its generation?
Yeah, the good question too. Well, I would say start by saying today, California does import already around 30% of its power on an annual basis. So I don't know that that would change under a regional market. The regional market would be designed in a way, and California's participation would be conditioned on this in a way that assesses GHG pricing in the cost of that electricity that would be in the market. So there is going to be a mechanism in the regional market that if there is power that is coming in that is not renewable, that it is assessed a GHG pricing through the market mechanism.
And does California export as well as import a lot of electricity?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that exactly. I do know we do wheel throughs through Oregon and through Arizona, but generally, my understanding is we do import 30% of our power, but I don't know how much power is actually exported.
Thank you.
Member Jones?
Also on SB 330, it occurs to me that public financing is going to have some play on the cost of transmission to customers. Currently, the investor utilities invest in power lines, I believe, as capital equipment. And so now if there's public owned equipment, how does I'm hoping this cuts into the cost, the delivery cost that appears to everybody's bill.
Yeah, your thinking is correct. Transmission lines, by and large in California, with some exceptions, are owned and operated by electrical corporations. They use private financing for that, which has its own cost of capital, and then they get a FERC approved rate of return on that. The idea would be that public financing in public markets has a lower cost of capital. You avoid certain tax payments on it as well. And then you also avoid that rate of return issue, thereby lowering in the future, we're talking about future lines that would be invested in, the cost that is actually borne by ratepayers to pay for some of these necessary lines.
It seems like there's going to be some kind of, they're going to have to develop some kind of system for figuring out the percentage of public and percentage of private. And that's a question that I don't think we should try to figure out today, but it's an interesting proposition.
Yes, I agree. And I think that this bill is really trying to start that conversation.
Member Montero Adams.
Yeah, Patrick, I was wondering, I noticed that there was a difference between your presentation and the packet. SB 331 by Padilla isn't listed. And I was wondering if that has any connection to the overall proposed restructure of CEQA, or if there's a different reason for that.
Yeah, thank you for asking that questions. I did intend to cover that in my presentation. The reason why that bill is not reflected in the presentation is because that bill was amended and it is no longer germane to energy issues. It is what we called gut and amended to deal with, I believe, health issues. It previously dealt with an optional pathway for certain transmission lines to get faster environmental review through the California Energy Commission as opposed to the Public Utilities Commission. It's a proposal that we have supported a couple times by Senator Padilla, and it appears this year that he made a decision between the time we wrote the staff report and this presentation that he wanted to move that bill in an entirely different subject area.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Lawrence Emerson from National City. You've mentioned both distributed energy resources, you've mentioned transmission lines, and we're always talking about trying to have an infill in our communities. Can you just share on balance, which is there being more focus on transmission lines, more focus on infill? How is that looking as far as legislation and support of either or both?
Well, I would say for us as staff and as an organization, we look to support, any policies that we think will are in line with our policy platform and are in line with the strategic plan that is currently being developed. And I think you have had a presentation about from our CEO. So anything that's dealing with infill that can support that and enhance that, I think we always look at that in a way of where we can support that. At the same time, our team is actively working in the wholesale market to bring renewable power online. And so that continues to be an important priority as well. So my answer would be, I think the legislature is focusing on both areas as we are on parallel tracks.
Thank you.
Any other questions before you go to regulatory? Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you. Over to Aisha then. Thank you, everyone.
Good answers. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name's Aisha. I'm Senior Policy Manager on the Reg and Legislative team. I primarily focus on the San Diego Regional Energy Network, providing regulatory strategy and compliance for them. And tonight I will have a very short and sweet update. I just wanted to make you all aware of a proceeding that San Diego Community Power, alongside several other CCAs, recently started to engage in. It's what I'll be referring to as the long-term gas system planning proceeding, but I do find that sharing the full title of proceedings can be helpful. So in its full-fledged glory, it's the order instituting rulemaking to establish policies, processes, and rules to ensure safe and reliable gas systems in California and perform long-term gas system planning. And just to, I wanted to briefly define order instituting rulemaking. The CPUC has a few different flavors of proceedings, but order instituting rulemakings in particular are those that are initiated by the California Public Utilities Commission to consider new policies or modify existing programs and or address emerging issues. And of course, it's a public process that allows stakeholder input. So again, San Diego Community Power recently started to engage and track this proceeding alongside a group of CCAs. And to drill down a little bit more, the purpose of the proceeding is to facilitate decarbonization activities, including the decommissioning of gas lines, and to do so in a way that supports equity, safety, affordability, reliability, and price spikes. So this is a very expansive proceeding. It's still early on. And the key interests of the joint CCA group we're a part of are primarily to obtain gas distribution planning data to support our own load planning. As gas lines get decommissioned, there will need to be more electric load provided. And so we, of course, have an interest in having access to that data. And then secondly, our other key interest is weighing in on the implementation of Senate Bill 1221 that was supported by Cal CCA last legislative session. And the purpose of the bill is to develop priority zones for neighborhood decarbonization pilots. One CCA and several RENs have expressed interest in playing various roles in implementing decarbonization pilots, specifically zonal decarbonization pilots once the time comes. And so we definitely want to weigh in there as it may impact not only San Diego Regional Energy Network programs, but all of SDCP's program portfolio potentially. And that is it from me. So I'll pass the baton to Dean.
Hi, my name is Dean Kimports, and I'm in the policy group here at Community Power. Good evening. So tonight I'll give you a couple of updates on some regulatory issues that are coming up. Aisha just went over what rulemaking is. Currently, there's an ongoing rulemaking just started the PUC to consider modifications to customer-generated renewables programs for priority communities, which is to say, essentially renewable programs that target low-income communities, disadvantaged communities, and communities of concern. Next slide. So the key focus of that is really on these three programs: the solar on multifamily affordable housing, which is also known as SOMA, the Disadvantaged Communities Single Family Solar Homes Program, also known as the DAC-SASH, and then the Modernizing Renewable Energy Self-Generation Bill Credit Transfer, or the SDCP program. Next slide. So Community Power is really engaging on this to ensure that these customer-sited renewable programs are actually going to be effective and provide benefits to these priority communities. And plan on doing that, particularly in like the DAC-SASH program, where we've run a pilot program by providing data-driven insights that influence the proceeding for the commission to consider as they consider expanding this program. The next one is really monitoring that SOMA program and to ensure that any changes align with the existing programs or the future programs that we plan to provide, including our solar batteries program. The other one we're monitoring is that the SDCP program, which largely supports community organizations, local governments, and tribes. But again, just advocating on behalf of our member agencies as well as our communities to ensure that these benefits are equitably distributed and that the programs actually make sense. Next slide. So getting on to some more, I guess, like regulatory process lingo. We recently filed a joint petition for modification, which is to say, we're asking for clarification from the commission on a previous decision to make clear previous ruling. So in the late 2000s, for background, the CPUC approved smart meters for SDG&E, and a large part of the benefit payoff for that was they'd be able to provide customers this real-time data access through a home area network that's connected to your meter. However, in the time that's since passed, they've stopped supporting those home area networks in anticipation of getting next generation Wi-Fi meters. So they're no longer providing like reconnections for services that get disconnected or new customer connections, which in effect allows people to not access that real-time data. So what we did is we joined with CEA as well as a company called Mission Data to try to get some clarification with the commission to order them to essentially continue to provide that service in the interim period between them updating their smart meter 1.0 to the smart meter like 2.0 that's Wi-Fi enabled. And like the reason this is really important is because that real-time data access enables like dynamic rates and like forward-thinking programs that help customers reduce GHG as well as save on their bills. I think, yeah, I've already covered this, but yeah, it's really about them supporting that and providing that real-time data access to customers and ensuring that they have access to that benefit for which they've already paid for. Next slide. So, like you said, we filed this, and at this point, what we're waiting for, we filed our petition. STG has responded. We've gotten support from several demand response companies, and now we're just waiting for a commission to provide a decision. Any questions? Oh, sorry, one more slide. Yeah, and so like the real view of this is like community power being able to use this data. It's important to implementing like new and innovative programs and ensuring that customers have the ability to take advantage of like bill savings as well as like these GHG reduction programs that could be by the design of the future. Any questions?
Seems like an easy decision.
Yeah, yeah, it's like it's something that's already been baked into their value proposition when they got the funding for it. It seems reasonable to ask them to continue to provide that until they update their meters. Yeah. Right. Anything else? If not, I can pass it off to Stephen. Thank you, Dean. Thanks.
Thanks, Dean, and good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Stephen Gunther. I'm Regulatory Manager at Community Power, and I'll be taking the team's presentation home. It's been a lot to digest. So I'll be presenting on yet another new rulemaking at the Public Utility Commission, and one that directly impacts Community Power's rate-making process. So in February this year, the CPUC opened a new rulemaking to revisit the power charge deference adjustment, also known as the PCIA, and other issues related to the Energy Resource Recovery Account, which is how investor-owned utilities like SDG&E recover their energy procurement costs. So as a refresher, the PCIA is the rate-making element that ensures the difference between bundled customers, those customers that are still receiving all their service from SDG&E, and unbundled customers, such as CCA customers like Power. And this is to avoid cost shifts when customers depart that utility to another provider. And it does that by making sure customers pay their share of legacy portfolio of those costs that were procured on their behalf. So at a very high level, PCIA is determined by looking at the difference between the utility's portfolio costs and the current value of that portfolio, and that difference amount is the PCIA, and that value is calculated using market price benchmarks to determine what the current value of that portfolio is. Next slide, please. So the new rulemaking is intended to improve existing rules and processes, look at ways to reduce security volatility year over year, and continue to ensure that there isn't difference between bundled IU customers and parted customers. Proceeding structured into two sequential tracks. Track one is narrowly focused on potential adjustments to the resource adequacy market price benchmark that sets the portfolio value. And that's because given all of the changes in the RA markets, there's a lot of volatility in resource adequacy markets. You've heard on a lot of these presentations before. So given all that market change, the commission wants to revisit the current methodologies, ensure that they're still providing the indifference that they're intended to do so. They're doing this in an expedited track. And then track two will consider more holistic change to the PCIA and error frameworks. Next slide, please. So Community Power worked through our trade association, CalCCA, to file extensive opening and reply comments, generally arguing that the community has an obligation to ensure a difference between both bundled and unbundled customers. So they shouldn't make any snap decisions now that the PCIA is having a different effect on customers. And we were making the argument that customer affordability will not be achieved by modifying these price benchmarks. And this is because in the current framework, it's really a zero-sum game. If you lower rates for bundled customers through adjusting the PCIA, that only means that you're raising rates for unbundled customers and vice versa. It doesn't bring down the total cost. So if they want to bring down costs, that should happen in different proceedings like the general rate cases. We also urge that any adjustments rely on transparent data and analysis on rate impacts. Like I mentioned, this is a very expedited proceeding in this track one to make an interim change to what they're calling course correct these issues. And then lastly, CalCCA addressed 5 specific proposals that the commission staff had proposed for modifying the market price benchmark. Next slide. Yes, so as I mentioned, it's a very expedited track. We expect a proposed decision to be issued next month. So our staff, we're continuing to closely monitor this and actively engage our trade associations. We're filing legal briefs in the coming weeks prior to that proposed decision to continue making the arguments we've made. And we're working internally across the other teams to understand what the potential impacts of some of these proposals will be on our rates. So in short, there'll be a lot more to come on this important issue in the coming months. And that ends my update. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any committee questions? Chair Emerson?
Good evening. Bundled and unbundled. Could you give the big picture again, bundled and unbundled? And I've heard some comment from community members concerned about bundled hiding information so that you can't see what's going on. So could you kind of talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sorry, I should have defined. So when we're talking about bundled customers, that means those customers that are getting all of their service from SDG&E. So their transmission, delivery, as well as the generation portion. So that's why it's bundled. It's all the electricity components on one bill. Unbundled customers is those customers that have gone with a CCA like Community Power. So they get their transmission delivery service from SDG&E, and they get their commodity or generation service from the CCA. So it's an unbundled package. So when we're talking about unbundled customers, that's Community Power's customers.
Okay, I'll have to go back to that person who had the question about the bundle, because maybe he was talking about a different kind of bundling. That's pretty straightforward, what you just explained. So, so that's probably answered my question. I'll have to go back and say, what was he really talking about when he said bundle?
Find out if where he's getting his power.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Thank you. Right. Well, really appreciate those updates. We'll move on to item 6, update on the
No public comment.
Oh, sorry, public comment. Yeah, we totally skipped over that process. Is there any public comment?
There are none.
Okay, great. Is there anyone that wants to speak?
I just had one comment for the legislative and regulatory team. I just wanted to say thank you for the comprehensive presentation and overview, in addition to the specifics, issues you're currently working on and proceedings. I just wanted to say, as a community advisory committee member, I really appreciate knowing when we can help out, representing our communities and support the bills that are really, really critical for the proceedings, like on the PCIA. So just keep us, I know you will keep us informed, but even, really urgent things that come up that need community support.
Thank you. Yeah, funny enough, on that note, my first advocacy letter organizing was on a PCIA letter in 2018. Did not understand it then, barely understand it. So let us know how we can help. Organize it before. Cool. Any other comments before we close out? All right, well, this is a file and receive with no further action. Thank you so much. We'll move on to item number 6, update on the California Energy Commission's Equitable Decarbonization Direct Install Program. Oh, this was really awesome. We'll turn over to the programs team to provide a presentation. Oh, Nelson.
Well, I think Colin's online. He may speak first.
Yes, online.
Oh, great.
If not, I can try and imitate what he sounds like.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, apologies, members of the committee that can't be there in person with you in fighting a bug. But no, Nelson, please take it away.
Okay. So thank you, Chair. Good evening, committee members. For those of you that don't know me yet or I haven't presented to you, my name is Nelson Lamelli. I'm a program manager with Community Power. I've been here for just over 4 years, actually. And I'm the main lead on this program, the Equitable Building Decarbonization Direct Install Program, which is, like any good government name, really long and has a really no nonsense acronym, EBD. So if you hear me say EBD, I'm referencing the Equitable Building Decarbonization Direct Install Program. So I'm excited to give you an update on where we stand with this groundbreaking program. So for those that may not know about this program, I'm hoping I'm speaking loud enough for the microphone to catch up. The EBD program is a statewide program from the California Energy Commission that aims to decarbonize existing homes for low-income residents. The program will provide no-cost direct installation of decarbonization measures. And I want to take an opportunity here to kind of talk about the difference between when we say decarbonization versus when we say electrification. So decarbonization encompasses electrification. So electrification about switching gas-fired appliances to electric versions, to clean electric versions of those. Decarbonization goes a step further and actually addresses the building envelope, so energy efficiency, to make sure that residents are comfortable, that there is some basic health and safety remediation being done for the homes as well. So that's why the program uses decarbonization as opposed to just electrification. So the program will not only, like I said, replace existing gas-fired appliances, but it's also going to provide energy efficiency measures such as weather stripping, insulation, and air sealing. It's going to pay for and allow for basic health and safety remediations like roof repairs, lead paint abatement, and remediation, and other upgrades of that nature. And if it's needed, it will also fund the upgrade of electric panels to support the new electrification appliances and equipment that's going to be installed in the home. So as the name of the program implies, the program is intended to bring some equity in the decarbonization transition. So as we transition, the state wanted to make sure that we were also capturing low-income residents in that transition. So the program is only open to low to moderate income households in disadvantaged communities as defined by Cal EnviroScreen 4.0, as well as low income communities as defined by AB 1550 Both of those definitions are what the California Climate Investments uses for directing their cap and trade funding investments into. So also, we use that same definition of those two communities and for our communities of concerns, for the definition of our communities of concerns. We also rely on our member agencies to provide additional census tracts if needed based on either an equity index or some other form that they've provided to us. So on the left-hand side or the right-hand side here, you'll see that some of the types of the no cost direct installation that's going to be provided to homes. I can't see them because I am recovering from eye surgery, so they're a little blurry, but there's some heating and cooling, so heat pump, HVACs, as well as water heating, and then induction or electric cooking appliances as well. So this program is the eligibility for this is eligible homes include single family homes, multifamily buildings, and mobile and manufactured homes. The state actually set aside a specific amount for manufactured homes, since these homes are traditionally excluded from programs and hard to reach and not subject to building codes from the member agencies or from their area. So it's a lot harder to decarbonize them. And so there's a specific set aside to challenge the program administrators to reach into that, that sector. Renters are also eligible to participate in the program. And the CEC is preparing participation agreements that include tenant protections in them as well. So the state really has gone through, listened to the community, and really thought through the entire purpose of the program and try to make sure that it was, as the name implies, equitable. So next slide, please. So when we started, when we learned about this program, we started working with a coalition of Southern California agencies, which were led by Los Angeles counties or LA County. And we started to track this program. So the state divided the program into 3 regions. So the Northern, Central, and Southern region, and selected 3 program administrators for each of those regions. LA County, along with the coalition, positioned itself to apply to be the program administrator for the central, or excuse me, for the southern region, and was ultimately selected from a competitive solicitation that occurred last summer. So the Energy Commission awarded $328 million to the southern region, which is the bulk of the state budget. It's 58% of the state budget, the statewide budget. Because we just have a lot of disadvantaged and low-income residents in the southern region. So with this budget, we're estimating that we have the potential to decarbonize 8,000 homes in the Southern California region, which translates to about 1,500 homes in our service territory. And I say that specifically about being our service territory because San Diego County was subsequently subdivided into 2, the northern portion, which is covered by Clean Energy Alliance, our sister CCA, and then the southern region, which is all of our member agencies, plus the unincorporated county. So there are some additional numbers that are in the northern territory as well. But that's why I wanted to be just specific that it's our service territory. And one thing I wanted to know as well is that the majority of this budget, the $328 million, will stay with LA County as the program administrator. So San Diego Community Power is not going to receive a big portion of that funding to do the actual installation of these decarbonization measures. That's all going to be paid for by LA County. We will receive funding to do promotional activities, which is what I will do on the next slide, please. So as part of the Southern California region and the coalition, we have been allocated $1.4 million to conduct marketing, outreach, and education, or what our program is called MENO. I love that acronym, it just rolls off the tongue. And to do education on the program and recruit potential participants or recruit homes into the program. $737,000 is allocated to go to community-based organizations that are participating in our power network. to conduct these educational marketing and outreach activities themselves. So the CEC has developed a targeting tool that is going to help identify eligible homes in communities. So they're developing that on a separate contract and have that available to program administrators. However, with the help of the CVOs, we are going to get that list and then help recruit them to enroll them into the program. So the bulk of the targeting, the geo-targeting of residents is going to be done again by LA County through the CEC, but it is our job to do the recruitment and get them educated on the program and enrolled into the program so they can get these free, no cost upgrades. We've learned from prior experiences that free is not a good word in programs because it just doesn't, it's not good for people on a behavioral basis. So, so the remaining money, the 600 and again, I'm sorry, I don't, 663,000 is going to be dedicated for staff time, for community power staff time, and that is to help us support the power network itself, and also assist LA County in coordinating and integrating with other programs. So we see this as really crucial task for us because we as community power have our own exciting pilots and programs that we are developing. And also more programs are going to be launched by the San Diego Regional Energy Network or the San Diego REN. And so it is really important that we take advantage of all of these programs to try and layer and make sure to simplify the process for customers so that they're not saying, hey, go here, apply for REN, hey, go here, apply for EBD, and go here for San Diego. Everything's kind of coordinated and layered on top of it so that it's as seamless as possible process for residents. We also see this as a really good opportunity to bring additional benefits to participants, such as we could utilize one of our pilots, the Smart Home Flex pilot, to further help reduce operating costs by shifting usage of the electric equipment to off-peak periods, and ensure that they have a little bit of bill savings as well, and further reduce emissions by having them shift to times when there's cleaner energy. Next slide. So here's just a quick overview slide of the timeline of the work that has gone on behind the scenes to get us to this point. I'm not going to go through every single detail here because there's a lot going on here, but as is customary with big statewide programs, this has taken a couple of years to bring forward and get to the point where we are now really excited that we can launch pretty soon. LA County is anticipating launching the program this July. So if everything goes according to plan, we can start that equitable program and start the promotional and then marketing educational activities this summer. So next slides, please. So as next steps, what I wanted to cover is that we are taking an item to our board of directors this month to seek approval of a memorandum of understanding with LA County and the SoCal EBD Coalition so that we can accept, appropriate, and expend the funds that has been allocated to us. If the board approves, we will then get started on activating our power network and partnering with community-based organizations to help us start that marketing, outreach, and educational activities this summer. So if everything goes according to plan, the initial outreach will start this summer, hopefully in July, if that's when the program launches. And I'm really excited to get this program finally into our communities that most need it. I think this is one of the most exciting programs that I've worked on in a really long time from the state. And so I'm excited to be leading this as well. So with that, wraps up my presentation. I'll turn it back over to you, Chair.
Thank you. Senator, do we have any public comment?
There are none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Committee members? Member Chair Adams?
I just wanted to know, first, thank you for the presentation. That was fantastic. With the recent application process for the community clean energy grants, I was wondering if there's any dovetailing with that selection of CBOs. Will they be hindered? Will it impact their selection process for this application? Do you believe that there might be any kind of cross programmatic work, or do you see those as two completely separate programs?
I don't know if Zio has any thoughts on this, but I can turn it over to you, but I had some thoughts as well.
Yes, so, hi, my name is Xiomara Crespo, for the record, a Senior Community Engagement Manager. So they are currently two completely separate businesses. What we are hoping to enable is collaboration between the organizations that are coming through the pipeline of the grants program, as well as the organizations, the over 30 organizations that we have currently under the Power Network.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so they could potentially be in both. There's no exclusion, like saying if you got this grant, you can't participate in this.
Yeah.
It really just comes down to the targeting, the geo-targeting of like, can they serve this area? Do they want to serve this area? Do they have capacity? Those kinds of questions.
Cool. Looking forward to that.
Questions? Vice Chairman?
Good evening. Thank you, Nelson. Couple of questions. Okay, low to moderate income, and also you mentioned Cal Enviro Screen 4, which the Cal Enviro Screen 4 usually has a mapping for that. And does the low to moderate income also is mapping of that make sense, or will there be a graphic representation? These are the areas we want to focus on.
Yeah, so there is a map currently that is published by California Climate Investments. I always forget their name, but they publish a map that has both layered back 4.0 or the disadvantaged communities 4.0, plus the low to moderate income use as well. So we can share that after the meeting as well, circulate that, the link to that map, because it is a really good resource.
Okay, and I mentioned this during our briefing, but I want to get a hands raised, all of our CAC members. How many of you have gone to city council members and made a presentation or comments to the city council members? Could you raise your hand? Just give me
In what time period?
in the last 2 years. When have you ever done it?
Yeah, well, I've done
I
it.
get an idea of how many people have done. Okay, so why am I bringing that up is you mentioned targeting. And of course, I'm from National City. I'd like to make sure they get an equitable share of these kind of programs. When they did the solar and battery storage, I don't think we got very much at all in National City. So what I mentioned in the debriefing was it would be very helpful to have a one-page flyer. And I know that the San Diego Community Power staff are going to city council members' meetings and making presentations. So when they go to those city council meetings, get us involved. Here's a flyer. They're going to do a presentation, but we want your community to benefit. Let us present. We think this would be very beneficial to our community members. That's an extra 3 minutes coming from a community member that we can emphasize to the city council members. And when some of the San Diego Community Power came to my San Diego National City and did a presentation, I was there to support, but nobody asked me to say anything. Can you emphasize this program? Can you emphasize this program that would be helpful for a community? That's a lost opportunity. So I hope when you implement this program that you guys have some kind of a one-page flyer, talking points, and get us involved for our community. If you go to a city council member meeting to talk about San Diego Community Power in total, let us emphasize these kind of specific programs, how we can take advantage of them and make sure we get people aware of it and get more participation in our communities. So
absolutely. Be careful what you wish for. Because this is one thing I forgot to mention is this is a 5-year program from the state. So it's not like we're not anticipating a mad rush to apply because there are specific requirements and people need to learn about this. So it will take some time to build up the application process. So it won't be like, let's do all the promotional all at once, month 1.
6 months won't be over.
Right. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint.
So this 1,500 you mentioned is over a 5-year period.
Correct.
Still, I would like
million.
National City to benefit.
Yeah.
Remember, I just second that for county programs as well. not just individual cities, but the county board of supervisors.
Yeah,
All of us.
we will definitely coordinate, and as soon as we start getting any kind of materials from the program administrator and making sure that everything is shared with CBOs are going to be participating and also you all.
Any questions or comments? I think my only note for us as CAC board members, since these are all fairly well politically connected folks, advocate to your state representatives for additional fundings for the program, because they originally had a lot more money and they had to claw back due to the budget cuts. So I would just be, every time you see them, talk to them about it, like EBD, throw more money in that bucket. Like we want to get more homes through this program. So yeah, really pull in for that funding for this. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Nelson.
Thank you.
All right, well, this is a file and receive with no further action needed. Thank you. We'll move on to what I believe is our last item, number 7, update on power services. Turn over to community power staff.
Great. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Vice Chair. Committee members, good evening. Byron Vosberg, Chief Commercial Officer, here to give an update on the power services team and all our goings on. I'll start with a personal update and bad news probably out the gate, bittersweet. I'll be leaving Community Power in the middle of next month, so this is probably my last CAC meeting with you all. Again, I'm excited. I'll be heading up the coast to Central Coast Community Energy, and I'm excited about the opportunity there. But we'll dearly miss this team, this committee, everything we've built here. And so anyway, I want to say thank you up front for the opportunity to work with you all. Thank you for your service. And then I couldn't be more, I think, proud of what we've built and excited about what this organization is going to do going forward. We've got it's been so fulfilling to see what we've built here, the team, the organization, the projects, the program that you guys all heard about. We've built that over the last few years. It's been incredibly fulfilling. So again, I'll leave that there before I start tearing up. But thank you again. Thank you very much for that and for the opportunity. As far as the work, the day-to-day here on the power services team, you guys are in good hands, and we've got a fantastic team that we've built out. Janine Camara, one of our directors, is here in the audience as well. So if you haven't met Janine, please do say hi afterwards. What we've kind of designed here for you all going forward is a bit of a program, I guess, to roll out a few updates on power services goings on over the next few CAC meetings. So I get to tee it up and then hopefully plan it out here with CEO and others, and then turn it over to others to present in my absence. So the plan here again is to have Laura did a wonderful job with the regulatory and legislative items. I think there were 6 people and 6 topics all in one. We'll try to break them up a little bit more just to, again, we'll take a bit of a different approach, but hopefully it won't be nearly as efficient as Laura and her teams, I'm sure. But we'd like to offer you an opportunity to provide feedback and suggestions for what you want to see in some of those briefings as well, and some of those updates. We've got inklings. I'll get to a couple of those here as well. But then we'll work with a schedule to make sure that we're bringing you all discussion up ideas and topics that are interesting, ones that you want to have discussion and feedback around, and also then tee that up with staff to make sure we have appropriate staff here as well to walk through those with you. So there's no immediate action, Chair, tonight, but just as you'll have time, either to me or to Skill or other staff, feel free, or Jack's probably another good representative as well. Any topics, I think we've heard a few from conversations that have been ongoing already, a few topics for presentation and discussion. Keep those coming our way. We'll collate those and then bring them out to you all as we're able to get that scheduled together. So that's the main goal here tonight, just to seed some ideas if you haven't had them already. I've put up our strategic goals here as adopted through our most recent strategic planning process. These shouldn't be too much of a change. But these are the 5 main priorities for the organization and our services team for the next 5 years. I'll walk through those, but again, I think a lot of these are familiar. We can easily can spend all weekend on any one of these topics as late as you guys want to go. But certainly, as you have thoughts around these or any other topics, feel free to shoot them our way, and we'll work them into again discussions in the future. So I'll note, obviously 100% renewable by no later than 2035. There's a whole topic as well. I think some of you raised questions about what that looks like in the new, I know Patrick mentioned, I think he said that it's a fluid federal situation right now. I think that might be the best euphemism I've heard in a long. So there's certainly some updates there. The long story short is it's a very uncertain market, both on the economic side, on the financing side, on the permitting and development side as well. So we're still tracking well to 100% renewable energy, but certainly a few more questions to be answered and a few more problems to be solved between here and there as we navigate the development, all the regulatory framework and the development market over the next few years. Another one I'm sure, and this is already teed up on our schedule here for you all, but to talk about local infill, I heard a couple questions already. Again, it's been incredibly rewarding to work with our team in developing our infill plan, and I think it's one thing that CCAs are really positioned well to do. We're not investor-owned utilities. We're not IOUs. We don't have a profit motive. We're really here to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, to decarbonize, and to find creative ways to do that. And there's no, I'll say perverse incentive, but no incentive otherwise, right? And so from the get-go, I remember when Colin Santulli, our director of programs, joined. I had only recently joined, and I think we remember saying, "Hey, this is our teams working together is really key to us doing these things well, to decarbonizing, to making sure that we can establish programs, one, that take advantage of public funds and all the grants available and really play within the marketplace, but also to the extent we can be creative and find wholesale power solutions based on distributed energy resources. That's really the goal and kind of the nexus for our team. So it's certainly been a whole lot of work, and Jack's been involved in a lot of it as well on our kind of distributed energy resources Tiger team, kind of cross-functional team. And we've developed a roadmap now to really see this plan through to get to a gigawatt of local resources, 300 megawatts of which will be distributed energy resources. So there'll be plenty of spreadsheets and analysis there. But again, as deep as we want to go in that conversation. And I'll note that probably there'll be a tag team presentation between my team and Colin's team as well when we do that. The other ones are core to our mission. Obviously, they're probably a little less exciting to talk about unless you're big into hedging strategy and energy risk management, but keeping the lights on, managing costs, and keeping risk down. And then compliance, again, Laura and our team have teed up the compliance obligations we have and help shape that policy. And our service team has to comply with all those regulations as well. So probably, again, happy to talk as long as you all want about those kinds of things, but probably less exciting topics down towards the bottom, except of course for local jobs, for health families and private communities. That's a driving force, kind of all encompassing in everything we do, but especially in the local project development. So again, those are our 5 main goals. We have sub goals and sub topics within all of those as well as we track them. But that's where we are now. Again, I depart with very mixed emotions. I'll be very excited about the next opportunity, but also will dearly miss this organization and the whole team here and your participation. And again, thank you all. And as you have any additional comments for us or any discussion you'd like to have or any topics beyond these, shoot them my way or to staff. We want to show you.
And you're going to another CCA?
Yeah, I can't quit it.
And where is it?
Yeah, Central Coast Community Energy.
Yeah,
they serve from about Santa Cruz to Santa Barbara. So just moving the coastline. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Anything else, presentation?
That concludes my comments, Chair.
Thank you so much. Is there any public comment?
Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Committee member comments? We'll go to Committee member Harris first, and then.
So is it true that Central Coast is larger than the?
It is not. No, I'm downsizing.
Retirement
from San Diego Community Power to Central Coast.
Okay, but one day.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We haven't strategized the mergers and acquisitions plans. So we'll see what we can do.
Well, I just wanted to say you've done an amazing job with the power services team and just bringing on the pipeline of projects that are enabling us to achieve these goals. So I really appreciate all the work you've done and everyone on your team that you brought in. It's just really commendable.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Member Jones?
Yeah, you're not gonna get off so easy.
Oh, I thought last item right before dinner, I thought. I'm happy to chat as long as you.
Okay, well, first of all, the briefing that you gave us, to the individuals before here was very good. And there was some specifics in there that was really, really good to see also. But I guess I'm not actually asking a question. I'm actually making an ask, and that's for very soon more details on a couple of the programs that caught my eye in the infill category. And one is speed and tariffs. And that program is being revised. And it's a situation, I think, of lessons learned of didn't really attract a lot of action in the first round. And so I would like a presentation in the future about what lessons were learned. And so why is it going to be better, enrolling more megawatts in the future. And also there's very interesting that we have this one, I'll say contract for a green tariff implementation with a Lumina LLC. And so my second ask would be, again, for detail on that.
Yeah, happy to do so. I can give you.
I'm sorry.
I can give you a high level response now if you'd like, and then tee up. But that's part of our infill strategy as well. So I think the feed-in tariff again. When we look back at the last four or 5 years of community power, right? I think we launched right in time for a pandemic to hit, and then supply chains and markets to be turned upside down. We've seen blackouts or near blackouts on the California grid, and again all kinds of market shortages and a very volatile market environment. So I think we designed that. I think Nelson was still around in 2021 when we designed the feed-in tariff. It was very much the early days, and we said, hey, this is where the market is right now. We launched it, and then immediately prices in the market just took off on us in a way that made those prices that at the time had been viable, and for a number of other CCAs and feed-in tariff programs made those no longer viable. We've kind of replaced that with some other local solicitation efforts to be a little more targeted, but also probably broader reaching, not just to limit to those those specific types of projects. So we've brought in Morgan Adam, our local manager of remote development or local development, and he's been leading a number of efforts along with the DER Tiger team, as we call it. And so those involve the Luminia contract that you mentioned as part of the DAC GT program. Again, I'll probably need Stephen or someone to help me with acronyms and all the mechanisms at some point. But that is a state-funded program that subsidizes the above market costs for that contract for customers and communities of concern and to meet certain criteria, and gives them a bill discount to kind of emulate what NEM and what rooftop solar could do for those customers if they are able to achieve that themselves. So we've spun that up, and again, that's been a great victory between the programs team and our team. That one of those contracts has been signed. There's another one in the works, and then there's also another solicitation launching shortly, next couple weeks.
Within the next month.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So again, we've done that. We've also we've had a number of local RFPs. So instead of the feed-in tariff, we've targeted those as well. We have a handful of contracts that have come through that. I think the board has approved a number of battery storage contracts and also local renewable energy development contracts. And there's the Luminia, who it was involved in the DAC GT program. We also have other portfolios with them of DERs for solar and storage resources as well that we've pulled together. And so we've kind of taken we haven't replaced, we've taken a more targeted approach and a more wide-ranging approach to find whatever resources we can in the area that are development ready, and we've contracted with those wherever we can. in parallel, we've been revisiting the feed-in tariff, and we've brought in consultants who kind of focus on this kind of thing as well. And they've been working with us to design the refresh. Again, the idea is that you set that up in a way that it's viable within the market, so it'll attract offers on its own. We realized, I think, given the development market and just commodity markets in general over the last couple of years, we had to go be a little more proactive and again, do solicitations and get out there. Now that, well, I was going to say now that markets are settling down again, but that may not be the case. But now that we have our feet under us with those efforts, we'll then release the feed-in tariff again with more up-to-date pricing mechanisms and market data that should allow it to be more successful.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all these distributed energy resources coming online, and hearing numbers about
yes,
how many megawatts we're actually generating and storing locally here.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, we'll bring those through, and again, we'll have a local update. Again, that is a very much a shared effort between Morgan Adam, who runs our local development on the wholesale side, and Colin and his team on the programs team. There's a lot of cross collaboration there, so we'll probably have a few folks come in and present an update on overall infill work.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Any questions or comments?
I just wanted to follow up. So on the battery storage projects, a number of those have been approved.
Yeah.
And it just seems that recently there's been a number of fires related to battery storage, especially the one in Moss Landing got a lot, as well as a couple local ones that raised community concerns. And in fact, in my own community of La Mesa, there's a meeting this week of neighbors who are concerned about a new storage facility in La Mesa. So I'm just wondering, how do you read this situation? Are we going to be able to address the issues of safety and public health?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic question. I think that's one of the other items we have teed up on a prospective schedule for some more depth conversation here. I think first of all, our climate goals kind of require that we find a way to make energy storage work. And I think there's it's understandable. I think we've seen the images, right? And you see the kind of the fallout from some of these fires, and I think they're scary, right? Like that's real, and I think we understandably, I think we all kind of second guess from like, oh shoot, are these what we thought they were? Are they as safe as we are, or as we thought they were? As we've done a lot more analysis, we and a number of others throughout the industry, it's pretty clear there is kind of a generation of battery technology and battery design that wasn't as safe, was more likely to experience kind of this kind of thermal runaway, and then also didn't have the kind of container technology as well to minimize the damage, I guess, in one of these unlikely events. And so I think it really is about fight and not glossing over it, certainly digging into whatever data we have available to ensure that everything we are doing is up to the latest standards. And we're using the safe technology and not technology that has been accident prone in the past. I think we've done a ton of work, obviously with our regulatory and legislative team, with a lot of our community outreach members as well to get feedback. And I think also to make sure that as we're going through our solicitation processes, negotiating contracts, that we are tracking and aware of battery technology, and that we're aware of all the efforts the developers are making. You'll be probably not surprised to hear they are just as focused on this as well. Not only because they're focused on safety of their projects, but also this is their business, right? And so they are all working with. It just seems like the best way to do this is education and working with as many public safety entities as possible, as well as all of the state and federal regulators that manage things to make sure that we're using the best practices and most safe technology. So that's probably a long-winded answer saying we'll get there, but it really does. Unfortunately, it's a matter of saying, okay, there will be certain technologies and certain designs we'll probably need to exclude, but let's make sure we choose the safe ones and focus on those, and then make sure that everyone else, when we have these conversations, that we make sure that the community is aware that they're safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service as well. Best of luck to you in your new role. I just had a quick follow-up question on that. Are there any criteria around location that you would use to screen in or screen out for infill projects or storage projects?
Yeah, it's a great question. We don't have hard rules currently. We've been doing what we can to. There are cross-cutting forces here, right? We want to do infill so that we're not serving greenfields, so that we are reducing transmission costs, right? And all the interconnection costs. At the same time, we want to make sure if there are concerns about safety, that we're not putting them next to sensitive receptors, right? And so that's certainly could be in conflict or in tension. We don't have hard rules, but we're kind of considering that as we move forward. That we will. I may not. The team will be kind of formalizing that to ensure that it's done safely. There's another balance. We take this seriously. At the same time, we're not necessarily the permitting expert either as well, right? And so I think there's a matter of deference to the local permitting agencies to make sure that we're complying with their rules. We have, of course, we'll do what we can to ensure safety as well, but don't want to set too many rules that may or hard and fast rules that may conflict.
So the base case today is on the requests for offers or proposals that go out, there's not a set of criteria that goes in terms of location, but you do rely on the local land use authority.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you for help.
I just want to chime into the battery related issues. We had a fire chief come to our electric vehicle meeting a month or two ago and talk about these fires. The big ones we've heard about in California were all on older systems, and they have different standards back then. So the newer ones are being built to the newer standards in a much more safe way. He did talk about when these were burning up, and even if a house burns up, a lot of the particles of the fire go way up and then they get dispersed. It's not like they're blowing right into some neighborhood. So he made that comment. It's a hot fire that goes up, it gets dispersed. It's not like attacking one neighborhood or the other. And every year there seems to be a solar and battery storage convention in San Diego. And I've been going to that regularly. And there's the short-term storage and long duration storage that are just advancing tremendously. And a lot of the short-term battery storage are LFPs, which very more stable than some of the past ones with high energy, but LFP means lithium iron phosphate. Those are much more stable and less likely to spontaneously, combust, So there's a lot of things are improving in that area. And it is scary when you hear about a fire, but there's really a lot of good things coming down the road. And the old things that were built were the ones that caught on fire. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, I will say thank you, Byron. I've had so much confidence with having you in procurement. Whenever an RA or RPS issue would pop up, I'd be like, oh, this is a problem and he'll handle it. So I really appreciate your leadership.
You should have the exact same confidence in the team here as well. Right. You're in great hands.
Best of luck on your next adventure.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
All right, we'll move to our standing item, discussion of potential agenda items for Board of Directors meetings. As a reminder, the CAC may suggest agenda items for the Board of Directors agenda by communicating with the CAC chair, me, and designated community power staff before and or after a regular CAC meeting. If suggested at this time, just a reminder, there shall be no discussion or action by the CAC unless the item has been included on the CAC agenda. Do any of our CAC members have recommendations on potential items for our Board of Directors? No. All right. Seeing that, we'll move on to committee member announcements. Does anyone have any announcements to share today? Member Hammond?
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to share that Olivewood Gardens and Learning Center, they were the grantee for Hammond Climate Solution Foundation's grant that was awarded last year through San Diego Community Power in partnership with the San Diego Foundation and Calpine Energy for the Community Grant Program. The installation wrapped up today, so the solar and storage is complete. So we received additional funding and added a smart heat pump back in February, and combined, these systems will save them over $400,000 over the next 25 years. So we're very excited about that. There will be a ribbon cutting ceremony, most likely the 24th of this month, and I can email CO to share information if anyone wants to attend. And thank you to those who contributed to the fundraiser on Sunday. We raised $15,000, so the full $155,000 for this project has been secured, so they can put their savings towards their impactful mission and the work that they do.
Congratulations, Tara. Great work.
Thank you.
Member Anderson?
Tangentially related, but this week we signed a very large agreement with a developer who's going to build a large housing project near Otay Lakes. It was a much larger project before San Diego Sierra Club that I represent and Center for Biological Diversity and Endangered Habitats League and Native Plant Society got involved in negotiating that agreement. Over 70 meetings over 4 years with 101 terms in the agreement. We signed the agreement this week. I'll give you a couple highlights, not 101. And that is, we allow them to build 2,500 homes on a smaller footprint at lower prices. They contribute $15 million to a greenhouse gas compensation fund sponsored by San Diego Foundation. They have to build the road from the project for 1 mile, a 4-lane road for evacuation till it meets up with another 4-lane road in Chula Vista. It's 100% solar. What they can't put on the project itself, they have to buy solar in other communities. It's 100% electric, no gas line will be put into it. So those are some of the highlights. Pretty great agreement, and I'll be glad not to be negotiating this every week for another 4 years.
Great job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other announcements?
Two things.
Emerson?
I had an emergency situation last week where my hot water gas tank was leaking. And I could, of course, the wife doesn't, we had to keep turning it on and off every time we wanted to use it, so it was leaking too much. But we found a solution. Someone recommended a contractor, which later, if you want to ask who it was, I really highly recommend them. They got it done all in 1 day. They gave me a quote on Monday. They were able to schedule it on Wednesday. It's all done. I'm very happy with this hybrid heat pump water heater.
Yes.
It looks good and it's operating well. That's just FYI, but I want to share a story about decarbonization related. I had a friend who helps people with these kind of situations. And there was somewhere in San Diego County, I forgot exactly what area, there was a condominium, had 3 separate buildings. I think each building had like 4 condominiums in it, 40 years old. All the people who were living there were suddenly told by some management process, oh, we have to update all the gas lines. It's going to cost you, what was it, $11,000 each of you. Okay, you have the option to opt out, but then there's no gas for you if you don't pay the $11,000. Well, everybody didn't know what to do. They were given a really short timeline, but one of them called my friend. And she went there and investigated. These old units, there's kitchen with all gas, no ventilation, no fan ventilating the kitchen gas. They had a hot water heater with the gas. It was a little cupboard. Above that covered area where there was a pipe that went up, but there was no connection between the hot water heater and there. So that could wander around to the, down the hall to the son's bedroom. Terrible conditions, but people didn't know what to do. that $11,000 they have to spend. Well, this one couple went and asked my friend, and she went and realized how terrible the situation was. And she gave them advice on, if you had solar and you get a heat pump, you could have induction cooking, and your whole environment would be much better with that same money or a little bit more outlay. And then in the long run, you would be paying less and have a healthier environment. But that's the kind of thing that people are being dealt with. Suddenly you have to make a decision to pay this or go that way. But she was able to help one of those condominium couples solve that situation, decarbonize story. And I appreciated her efforts and her helping me with my situation.
Thank you, Larry. Great. Any announcements? All right, well then we're adjourned to our next meeting, which will be on May 8th, 2025, 5:30 p.m. here at the court. Thank you.
Thank you.